And now our great speaker, the person that has made a lot of this possible. Give it up for Tony Robinson, yay!
Wow, I didn't make any of this possible. I just wrote a report. So I actually do want to say a few things real quick. So I'm Tony Robinson, I'm a professor at CU Denver. I'll say a few quick things before I get going on the report itself. First of all, I know that Unicorn Riot is here. Not all the press showed up. And I hope we can still get out the word. We're going to work on it. But Unicorn Riot and all their great reporting, and we should always be happy when they show up. And Channel 9 is here, so we got a few great, and maybe some others as well. But I want to just recognize those that show up and are covering this important event. Thank you. Denver Voice is here. Right on. Who else is here? Denver Voice.
Get loud, too.
Okay. Mariana made all this food, right?
Yeah.
The good people at Denver Homeless Out Loud, one of the most fantastic grassroots, authentic organizations in this city that has really changed the city from the grassroots up without a lot of funding and professional support and all that. They're just like, they're an authentic group from the community. So the Denver Homeless Out Loud and all they've achieved in this city. Thank you. Denver Homeless Out Loud members helped do this survey, so did students at Raria, so thanks for all the work they did in gathering results. But I want to point out one last person, especially Marissa Westbrook is a PhD candidate at the University of Colorado, right here. This is Marissa. For efficiency's sake, I'm going to be presenting these results, but she is such a great scholar and is such a great what it means to be a scholar that matters. She coordinated this, she got the results coordinated, she put them into the data table, she made us meet deadlines, and I kind of did a bit of the work writing it, and now I'm presenting it, but thank you, Marissa. All right, so I'm here to present on a study, and I feel a little humbled in that most of you in this room are going to know all these things. You know it, you experience it, and I know many of you work in the community, so a lot of this is not going to be, oh, that's shockingly new. But there's always a need to say it again, and say it fresh, and say it with hard evidence that we're going to present here. So that's what I'm going to do, is talk about some of the findings of this study that we all did together. So, first of all, let me just start with the key findings that came out of Denver. These are the three, and these aren't shocking to anybody in this room. Denver criminalizes homelessness. Okay, and these are two simple things, that's a fact. They do it because of two reasons, which is, we know, and every city report shows it, there is inadequate shelter and housing options in this city for very low-income people. We know it, the city admits it, we know there will be people sleeping on the streets tonight. And there will be tomorrow, and secondly, Denver has a law that says if you sleep on the streets tonight,
it's illegal.
It's illegal. You can't use any form of shelter no matter how cold it is. You can't sleep, sit, and all kinds of areas of downtown. You can't sleep in your own car in most of downtown. All these rules that say, essentially, die or break the law. That's called the criminalization of status. Yep. And Denver does it. Denver criminalizes homeless people. Secondly, the enforcement of those ordinances measurably undermines the health and safety of people. And we'll talk about how. Exposes people to rape, to frostbite, to physical assault, to mental instability, to sleeplessness and all that goes with it, and that is done by our police officers and by our city authorities. Third, there are immediate improvements to be made. And one of them is, for example, passing Initiative 300.
Yes, on 300. Everybody's going to like
Initiative 300 says everybody has a right, unobstructively, without causing problems, to sit in a public space, or maybe rest in a public space, or use a bit of shelter from the elements, as long as they're not causing a problem to others. We hear all the time, well, that wouldn't fix the problem. That's not going to solve anything. Of course it isn't. That's foolish, and that's a ridiculous critique. But they say it's not going to solve it, which is true. But I'll tell you this, and what this study demonstrates, is this ordinance would immediately improve living situation for hundreds or maybe thousands of people in this city immediately. Yep. They'd sleep better, they'd be safer, they'd be less likely to be raped and beaten up, they'd be mentally more able to handle the challenges in their day. All of that would immediately happen. So it's not a solution, but it is definitely a proven, documented step forward and an improvement. So let's go to each of these in a little more depth. Criminalizing homelessness, really fast, 2 facts. This, the report goes into detail on these things, and you can look at it. This is a simple fact. We lead the nation in loss of low-income housing units in the last 10 years. We're one of the top 3 in the nation. It's not a surprise to anybody in here, but they're disappearing. The market does not produce low-income housing units. Wages remain stagnant for low-wage workers. And there's lots of other reasons why we don't have enough housing.
But we have 20,000 homes laying vacant.
Yeah, well, and there's that. There are solutions, such as why do we have vacant homes? That means we have homelessness. The city itself counts 3,445 people on one night that were in observable locations on the streets, or in shelters, or in transitional housing. That doesn't count people that might be hidden outside, couch surfing with a friend, maybe sleeping in a car in a hidden place. These are just the ones the city could find and count. And they counted 3,400. These go together. We don't have enough units. We got people on the streets. Often people say, well, they should be in shelters. Why don't people move into shelters? We don't need Initiative 300 to go into shelters. You all know the reasons why that can't happen. We just heard a speaker talk about why that doesn't work for her and some of her friends. First of all, there aren't enough units, which the study documents. There just aren't. But even if there were, there are you can't meet all these. These are in the report. But this is just a list that folk at Denver Homeless Out Loud came up with of people that can't stay in shelters. For example, I work late at night, or I have to get up really, really early in the morning, and it doesn't fit shelter hours. You can't stay in a shelter.
Yes, sir.
I have a cat. I have a service animal. You're not staying in a shelter.
Nope.
I've got a
I can't be with my
partner.
baby's dad either.
Boom, what's that?
You're a
I can't be
couple.
with my baby's dad either.
Can't be with her baby's dad either. You can't be in a shelter. Maybe you've got, you have challenges sleeping with hundreds of people right next to you in crowded, regimented conditions. Some people have documented, diagnosed medical conditions that wouldn't allow that. You can't be in a shelter. You can't get down on the ground and get on a mat for the physical reason. You're not going to stay in a shelter. You got released from the hospital at 1 a.m. Shelters are all full. There's no shelter for you. You have more than 2 bags of belongings. Well, you can't take all that into a shelter. You're screwed in that case. You feel safer, happier on the street, or by yourself, or able to have a guest, or able to have a little bit of dignity, and decide who can visit you and how, and when you might move or go out to the bathroom or something. None of those are going to work, and there are reason after reason. It is impossible to imagine that we have enough shelter units for all those who need it in the city of the types. We know it. City officials know it. It is a lie. It is nothing to lie when people say, no, we have enough shelter units for everyone. We all know it's true. And but even though we admit that, and we know that people must sleep outside and live in public places, we have laws that say you can't. Sleep, sit. In a vast area downtown, you cannot sleep or sit if you're not shopping. That's what the law says. If you're not catering businesses, you can't sleep or sit. You can't share free food in parks without a permit for if you have more than 25 people. Permitting, liability insurance. They try to keep us from sharing free food in parks. You can't sleep in your car. Although there isn't really a law against it, Denver police officers and others admit that they constantly are harassing people and telling them to move their car and you can't be sitting in this public area. Happens all the time, de facto. Encumbrance law. You've got your belongings and maybe you went to use the bathroom or went to a job interview or had to do something and now your belongings are in a shopping cart. Let's just dispose of them.
Yeah.
Throw them away. Your tent, your ID, your family pictures, maybe a war medal, all of it. Throw it away. Happens all the time, well documented, and in our survey we show it too. And most notorious of all, the Denver camping ban, the urban camping ban.
Boom.
Yeah, you're right. The black letter of the law says, if you are living in public, you may not shelter yourself from the elements with anything other than your clothes. An umbrella? No. A little t-shirt over your leg or a little sleeping bag? No. No matter how cold it is tonight, if you live homeless, if you live in public, you cannot shelter yourself from the elements. That's the law. So, that's the criminalization of homelessness. Our study, we wanted to find out what are the health consequences, because you hear all the time the city say, listen to it. Listen to the reply. If any on the media report replies, they will say, oh, these laws are for the good of people who are homeless. It forces them into shelters so
None
they
of
get
them have ever been
services.
homeless.
It forces them into places so they can, get their act together and have a better life. This is all because we care so much.
They ship you away from town and everything just to go to a shelter because they're trying to hide you.
Yeah, well,
They don't
that's a
want
fact.
you to be seen by anybody.
But they say we're doing this for their good. We're doing this
Yeah.
because we love them so much.
The shelter food makes you sick and have diarrhea.
You tell us. So we wanted to study, how about some evidence? What does the evidence say? It'd be nice if we had evidence-based public policy. Do
Yeah.
these laws improve people's lives?
No.
Are people better off when police harass them all the time?
No.
No.
And we want to get real data on this. So we did a study. We have a 36-question survey. We surveyed 484 individuals, which is 14% of Denver's homeless population, according to the city, of people who live on the streets. That's a large number. And we did multiple in-depth interviews with some people, I think, right here in this room. We talked about the situation. So here's what we found. Frequency of police contact. First of all, just police staff. We know the police are enforcing these laws. Sometimes they say, we're hardly enforcing them.
That's a lie.
We don't enforce them. City data itself, 12,000 camping ban contacts between 2012 and January 2019. That's officially recorded police contacts. I'm sure every time the police roll by an alley late at night and fire up their sirens, to wake everybody up, which they do.
Yeah.
That's not one of their officially recorded contacts, for example. 12,000 camping ban contacts. In our survey, 44% of people have been ticketed or arrested after police contact for one of these laws. 44%. They may be violated for something. Who knows what they're ticketed for? But they get contacted because they're using a tent. And then 44% of them have been ticketed or arrested. 74% said they've been asked to move along calmly by police. And that's of all respondents. And many of our respondents live more in shelters or live in transitional housing, so they don't live so much on the streets as much at night. So it's a much higher percentage of those who sleep outside. But 74% of respondents move along. Police aren't enforcing this. Here's some data. Not only ask it, how many times have law enforcement contacted you regarding sleeping, resting, violating park hours, or using shelter? 83% have been contacted. More than 20 times? 20%. This is just in the last year. This just shows you it's constant. Lots of people, 20 times, 30 times, 40 times, contacted, bothered. Why are you using shelter? Almost everybody, 83%. Not only contacted, have police asked you to move along. 74% of everybody we surveyed, yes. More than 10 times, quarter of people more than 10 times, move along. You need to move along. It's just constantly enforced. When we ask people in a little more detail, well, what happens when you talk to police? Well, there is the move along, but people that got a little more specific said, well, they issued an actual written warning that if I didn't move along, I'd be in trouble. 27% get verbal or written warnings that they're going to get ticketed or arrested if they don't move along. Police informing them that it's against the law to sit, it's against the law to, cover yourself, 27%. 40% were arrested for something. On and on. Now, police are concerned about helping, and the city is very concerned about helping. So 3% of the people time, police actually contact a social worker and say, we need somebody on the street here. These are according to our respondents in our survey. So how does this affect your health? Does it push people into shelters and now all of a sudden, they hold the job better and become more mentally stable? That's the argument of the people that support these laws. What about sleeping patterns? How does all this affect your sleeping patterns? Have you been woken up by the cops? No, you have. Some of you, probably those of you who have slept on the streets here in Denver, some of you have been woken up by the cops now and again? Now and again. This one says 83% have been woken up by the cops, and almost half of them, many, many times, been woken up by police in the night. Woke you up, wake you up, wake you up. 83% woken up. And this is correlated with bad sleep, shockingly. When cops consistently wake you up, you get bad sleep. Have you been woken up many times? Yes. And I typically sleep 2 hours or less before interruption. 50% of people who are woken up many times only sleep 2 hours before they're bothered by the police. Typically, and those that aren't bothered much by the police, only 30% of them sleep 2 hours. The point is, if you're bothered by the police, you sleep far fewer hours. If you aren't bothered by the police, you sleep 4 hours or more before interruption. How about you sleep on how much sleep you get overall? 60% of people get less than 4 hours of sleep when they're bothered by the police like that. Okay? And only 18% get 6 hours or more sleep. And these numbers are all better for the people that have managed to avoid the police altogether, which is hard to do. So that just shows you, the more the police bother you, correlated with poor sleep and very little sleep. That's a fact. We researched it. This is a complicated chart to read, but I just want to point out this one point here. Police wake me up many times. I get 30 minutes or sleep on average before I get bothered by something. 21%. Or 1 to 2 hours, another 27%. That's about 50% that only sleep like about an hour at a time before they're bothered. For those that can avoid the police, it's only, it's much lower numbers are sleeping in these short little breaks of 30 minutes. So we are forcing, with police activism, we are forcing people to sleep short, 30 minutes, an hour. What does that mean? It means police, as I said, they roll down by an alley and turn on their sirens.
Yep.
Don't even get another cop car. That's a measure of cruelty. Don't even get out. Fire up the siren. And then they'll also get out of the cop car, of course, and bother people. But that's what it means.
Yeah.
How does this affect your health? We ask people, how do you feel after sleeping? These are people that get woken by the cops a lot. Good sleep and refreshed, 15%. No, I'm frequently tired, 50. I get super depressed. I get frustrated and angry, 32%. Hard to focus, I forget things, 30%. I have images and hallucinations, 10%. These are all related to the cascade of illness that comes from bad sleep that we enforce with our actions. And all of these things are a lot worse for people who are very concerned about the cops because they're using shelter. During sleep, how often do you worry about the police due to how you're sleeping or your personal shelter? The people that are concerned, 7% feel refreshed. People that aren't using personal shelter and don't, they're maybe in a regular shelter, St. Francis Center, they feel far more refreshed, according to them. They have less anger, all of these reasons. If they get good sleep, these numbers are low. If you don't get good sleep, and these are correlated with how concerned you are about the police. I'm just going to roll through these quick for Q&A. Okay, let's look at physical and personal safety. A lot of people sleep in groups. Why do you sleep in groups? They ask. Why do you sleep in, not far from here, there'll be 4 or 5 tents set up.
Protection.
Why? Why are you sleeping in groups? Well, it's safe, 50%. A community and friendship, shared resources. It's healthy. A group of people that take care of each other. You were talking about this. When a group of people take care of each other. But increasingly, people are changing where they sleep to avoid the law. 87% say I'm happy to change where I sleep to avoid cops. Where do they go? According to this, 50% hidden locations, 38% isolated locations, sometimes along the river, 22%. But what about these hidden and isolated locations? What happens in those hidden and isolated locations that people are moving to because the cops are bothering them? This chart shows if I move often to avoid police, because I'm always going to these hidden and isolated locations, if I don't have to move, the police aren't bothering me, these are men, 6% sexually assaulted, 8% when you have to move to hidden locations. Physical assault goes from 14 to 40%. Robbery goes from 35 to 48%. Violent threats go up. How about women? Sexual assault goes to 30% when they're forced to move to these hidden and isolated locations. Physical assault more than triples for these people, women. Robbery goes up. Violent threats. This is transgender. We didn't interview many transgender people. We weren't able to survey that many, so these numbers aren't reliable. But we just put them up here because they're suggestive. So this is just another. On every category. If you moved often to avoid police, you're being assaulted more, you're being threatened more, you're being robbed more, you may be sexually assaulted more. That's what's happening. And we are doing it by design. We're forcing people into this situation because we enforce these laws. How about this category? Policing and severe weather challenges. 52% of everybody say they sometimes choose not to use shelter because they're scared of the cops. That is, I'm not going to use my sleeping bag because the cops will just bother me for doing it. I'm not going to use my tent because I'll get bothered for doing it. So they choose, on a day like today, to use minimal shelter. Or 55% say the police told them to quit using shelter. So about half of everybody says, I'm not able to use shelter. And in addition to that, the cops commonly confiscate shelter. And we got stories of this thing, so many stories of people who left their tent for a minute, somebody watching it, and the cops just come and dispose of it. Just come and take it. Take the tent, take the belongings. 44% blankets taken, 32% tent taken, ID cards, medications, prescriptions, syringes. This is a quote. I get my stuff taken every day, every morning. It's like their mission. They move us like cattle, the police. We don't know how to accumulate stuff again to keep warm. This is correlated with frostbite. If you have not been told to quit using shelter, frostbite rate of 6%. But everybody who's been forced by the police to quit using shelter, frostbite rates are about doubled. 12%, 16%, 11%. We are forcing people. Had a story about a woman who the cops were bothering and had to move a couple times. And this woman ended up sleeping, I believe, in a dumpster, to kind of hide from the cops. Cold night, the next day, severe frostbite, into the hospital she had to go, and last I knew, she was in danger of losing several digits. I don't know if that actually happened, but that's someone that the cops drove to that. Quit using shelter, until finally we just have to cut our fingers off. Well done. Heat stroke and dehydration as well. Have the police told you to quit using shelter? Yes. Heat stroke, 10%. If you haven't been told to quit using shelter, heat stroke, 4%. Dehydration, 17 to 25. So the point is, again, during the hot summer months, heat stroke and dehydration more. Even in winter, you get dehydration for not using shelters. Finally, policing and mental health. How often do people worry about this? That the cops are going to bug you? It's stressful living on the street. You may have a diagnosed mental challenge, or you just feel emotionally unstable. And then there's constant contact from law enforcement. 43% say they're all the time worried about the cops, where it affects their stress. Another 13% say several times a day. Add those together, you're what? 53, 55, and 56% of the people are constantly worried. This makes people self-diagnose their mental health as worse. We were just surveying people. How do you feel about your mental health? Of the people that were contacted many times by the police, 26% said their mental health is better than it used to be. Of those that were hardly ever contacted, 30% say they feel better. 46% of those that were contacted feel that their mental health is worse versus 29%. The point is, the more the police contact you, the worse you feel mentally, emotionally. Yeah, he's rolling his eyes because of course. And we can just say that, right? But I did a survey. We can prove that when police bother you, it stresses you out. Not too shocking, but there it is. So here's a cute little thing. We ask people, it's not cute, but we used to ask people, after you talk to the police, how do you feel? Did they help or did they hurt?
Yeah.
Do you feel more secure or less secure? Do you feel depressed or optimistic? According to the city, all this police contact helps people. So I'd imagine people say, I feel optimistic, I feel helped. So then we counted the words, and we made a word cloud. A word cloud makes a big word if they said it a lot, and a little word if they said it hardly at all. So this is the words people used. Stressed, hopeless, depressed, anxious, insecure, vulnerable, miserable when they talk to police. Happy, healthy, hopeful, peaceful, secure, comfortable, optimistic, protected. Not so much. It suggests the mental health of people when they contact police is not so great. So our conclusions of this study, this almost 100-page study you have in front of you. Laws that forbid sitting, sleeping, and sheltering are harmful to the health of people who are homeless.
Say that.
That's a fact. I think we can gather the hard data to show up, but here's a survey of 500 people that say their health is deteriorating. Police do enforce these laws vigorously, constantly waking people up, ordering them to remove their blankets and other cover, and directing them to move on all the time. The homeless people, because of that, lose sleep, lose safe sleeping locations, experience stress, and find their physical and mental health deteriorating. That's a fact. Nothing improves We don't have more housing. We don't have better wages. We don't have better services for people. Homelessness rates remain the same. Instead, we just make homeless people more unhealthy by design. By policy, we have chosen to make life more miserable for thousands of people in our city. There is an evidence-based response. It's based on evidence. And that response, for example, is Initiative 300.
Yeah.
It's a fact. If we pass Initiative 300 and enforce it, immediately the life of hundreds of people get better. They sleep better. They're less likely to be raped. They're less likely to be assaulted. They're less likely to have frostbite. Immediately. There are longer-term solutions we need. More housing, more services. But let's just start by getting the foot of this city's law enforcement off the neck of people that have to live in public.
That's right.
Big solution.
Yeah.
That's the study. It's back there. You people can pick it up. I don't know the next stage. That's my piece. Sure.
Let's go. Let's go.
What comes next? Am I doing Q&A? Who's running the show? Q&A. Are there any questions you want to ask? No? Yeah, man.
And so the difference between the point in time survey, the little over 3,000 folks, and the 484 you talked to, were there folks that you approached that did not want to take the survey, or how did that end up being?
So she's asking, yeah, how easy was it to do the survey and what do people say? Mariana did a lot of surveys.
Okay.
Yes.
One of the things that I saw on a constant basis is that if they told me that they did not want to even participate in the survey if it was point in time, because they said that they have taken it over and over again, it doesn't do any good. A lot of them that I said, well, you're feel free to check it out, look at it and see what it's all about. If you feel comfortable in doing it, that's fine. And they were just like so grateful. They were just like, wow, you guys. And I said, well, we're Denver Homeless Out Loud. We've been on the streets. We're former homeless people.
Right.
And that is the difference, okay?
Yes.
When you have pristine people up there in office, sitting in their doggone office, and they're
Making
making laws
decisions.
and stuff about people that are unhoused and stuff, how can you do that? And I feel that, I feel very humbled, and I feel also very blessed to be able to have this, to get this information, because I feel that right now, they can say all the bullshit propaganda that they want, okay? They can say what they want, but the proof is right there.
That's right.
The proof is right there. From the people themselves. The people talk.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Godmother.
Are there other questions? Therese or Mariana, or who's running our agenda? I'm not sure what comes next.
Right now, so
What's that?
she's being interviewed right now.
Oh, okay. So somebody preach. Here we go.
I just got a question. What are you going to do with this study? Is it going to get out there, or will people see it? Is Denver going to be aware of it? Is Hancock going to be aware of it? What happens next?
I wish more people would be aware, but we are. Here's our strategies, and I'll let you, Mariana, say a few things, and then you can as well. This is the third, actually, of a series of studies we've done. We've done previous studies of different aspects of these laws over the last 5 years. And one thing that is nice that they all do is they become permanent resources that are, in fact, used constantly by university classes, other organizations in Denver and across the nation ask for them. So we're constantly sending them. They're all posted on the website of Denver Homeless Out Loud. The whole report is available for anybody to get. We hope in the coming several weeks, like I'm going to be giving a few public talks on campus. We're hoping to reach some voters, on campus, like campus community. So I'll be giving some talks informed by this. Different professors use this data in their ongoing lectures and classes. So I don't know, those are some answers. I know in an immediate sense, we've printed hundreds of these, and we're just going to be taking them and handing them out and using them to, as we have debates on Initiative 300, as Mariana said, this is fact, and try to use it to push back on the bullshit tough love argument that these laws are good for homeless people. Rihanna and Dan.
One of the things that I plan on doing, Monday is public comment at the city council. Each and every single one of them are gonna get one in their hands.
Yep.
The mayor's also gonna get one. Every single person who is a service provider, I don't care what shelter you're at, I will personally make sure that they get that. Because you know what? If they can't see that the lies that they're perpetuating, the thing that really got me the most, and it just dawned on me, I mean, I was homeless from 2011 to 2013. The thing that really got me is how the general public always blames you. It's your fault. You didn't do this. You didn't do this right. You didn't do this. I came as a nurse, okay, people, to Denver. I did not know that over here it's all about the perfect credit score. And who in the hell has a perfect credit score?
That's right.
Nobody, okay? So there's something going on here in Denver and in the industrialization of homelessness that people that could be lower middle class are homeless on the street. And it's going to take each and every one of you to pick up a copy and have a conversation with your friends. And get it out. You know, you guys have. I don't do social media, but I know a lot of people do social media. Get it out there in social media. Keep on blasting. We gotta keep this conversation. We gotta keep putting out the facts. The facts. And these are people's lives. We cannot listen to all these politicians that are giving a bunch of bullshit.
Especially the ones that's not supporting 300.
Jim's got something.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the distribution of the report. It's available as a PDF and on our website, and do the social media. Our bandwidth on the Denver Homeless Out Loud Facebook page over the last year and a half has grown quite a bit. And just share with your friends, and tell your friends to share with their friends. And because it's on a PDF and a link, they can click on it, they can read it. Also, a video of this presentation to frame it will be available as soon as I can put it together, and just keep the conversation going. I mean, a lot of the things that are happening in regards to this are because we keep the conversation going. There have been groups and stuff that done a single project and either successes or fails, but I mean, man, this is us. I mean, I was out on the street for about 4.5 years, and still walk them all over at night. A lot of you probably going like, oh, that's the purple coat guy. But yeah, just keep sharing it, just keep sharing it, just keep sharing it. And another thing that can be done is, while half of us that are doing this work used to be homeless, about half of what's left currently sleep on the ground. So, I mean, we need more hands on deck. There's a lot to do, and a lot more that we'd like to be doing that we just can't get to, so.
Right on. Is there another question or two before we kind of wrap things up? One?
So in order to repeal the urban camping ban, you're going to need a majority vote from the council. So you need to support candidates such as myself, who's running at large, who have been homeless. I was homeless for 3 years. I was banned from the area campus because of the urban camping ban. So I know firsthand the effects that this has had over the past 6 to 8 years. A lot of these people that are running, they have never been in these shoes. They have no idea what they're saying, what they're talking about. So we need to treat the council like they treat the homeless every night. And as Godmother stated, we have public comment every Wednesday or Monday. Monday the 15th is public comment. You can sign up online. We need to fill them chambers and encourage all the voters in Denver to support the right to survive. Thank you. I'm on top of the ballot for at large.
Right on.
I just want to say, this is what we said, really it's war out there. And if you haven't been homeless, you have no idea. You have no idea what it's like to try to get an appointment, and you've got to try to find a bus pass. It'll take all day for one appointment, and then people get pissed off at you. You couldn't do all this stuff. So yeah, it is. It's a war out there. And people that haven't experienced it, they have no clue what it's like to avoid human feces and all the other things that are out there at a campsite that can happen. You get all your phone set, you got a movie, you got your phone, you got this. So yeah, I support that 100%.
Thank you.
It's difficult. Thank you so much.
One more.
God, I think one of the biggest problems we have in this society, and not just this society, but all over the world, is that the people who have influence and money, they are scared to death to give rights to someone else who doesn't have them, because they think somehow it's going to diminish their own rights. They're afraid. It's fear. That's what Trump is preaching.
Yep.
Fear. You gotta fear your neighbors, or if you give them something, it's going to take away from you. And that's when you talk to people and try and convince them to vote yes or no or yes on this 300. They're all scared to death about how it's going to affect them. They don't care how it's going to affect the people, the poor people living on the streets. They don't care about the poor people living on the streets. They only care about how it's going to affect them and their property rights and all around goddamn bullshit that they feel so
Right,
proud of.
Yay!
Has the city reached in?
What's that?
Has the city reached out to you for the report, or?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, okay, or Marissa, never mind, sorry, go ahead.
One thing, we're presenting the report, we're gonna be having a table at the Denver Housing Summit next week, so if
Okay,
you're there.
I'll be there,
Or if anybody, there's still opportunities to volunteer. I think their free scholarships are closed, but if you want to volunteer, take the time and be a part of the conversation, we'll be there as well with the report.
If I'm not mistaken, though, that's not a presentation, that's just being.
just
So,
sitting there taking-
point being, no, the city has not reached out and asked to see this report. They have not even brought it to us at all. Okay, go ahead.
I sent out an email to every single candidate, to the mayor, everybody, and all the upcoming candidates and all city council, and nobody responded. And you see, no one's here. But we got Leanne here.
So needless to say, this is why we in this room need to be the people that are bringing this out to the public. I think what everybody has said in this past I was out for a minute and I had to come back so I missed things, but what I heard in the past 5 minutes was people saying, our voices on the street who actually know what is going on are being ignored and not heard, and not even, people don't know what is going on. People who are housed are voting on this and don't know the struggle and the reality. They don't get it. And that is why it is so critical, in conjunction with what Leanne just brought up, which is, has the city reached out? Is the city asking for this? Those two things together, I think, point being what is so critical that all of us in this room here are doing the work to get this out to them, to get this to the Denver City Council, to the Denver voters, to the